Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of the Flanders-China Chamber of Commerce, I would like to warmly welcome you to our webinar, which takes place during the Export Fair organized by Flanders Investment and Trade, which is also our structural partner. The topic of today is doing business with a changing China. It's a real pleasure to have Professor Bo Ji, Chief Representative and Assistant Dean of the Global Executive Education of the Chung Kung Graduate School of Business with us today. Mr. Bo is a very well-known TEDx speaker, entrepreneur. He also gives top trainings on doing business with China, and today he will give you a better understanding on how to enter the Chinese market successfully. Speaking a few words about the Chung Kung Graduate School of Business, the school is China's leading independent non-profit business school established in 2002 by the prestigious Li Ka-shing Foundation. More than half of the 10,000 alumni are at the CEO or chairman level and collectively lead 1/5 of China's most valuable brands. One of the alumni is Mr. Jack Ma from Alibaba, whom I think you all must know. In Europe, the focus of the business school is to help businesses of all sectors enter China through one of their programs. Our title today is Doing Business with a Changing China, but actually we should say doing business with a fast changing China. The speed and efficiency with which China is tackling COVID-19 is really impressive. China does have a few new infections, but in that case, immediately strict action is being taken with quarantine, efficient contact tracing, and a mass testing. Something new is even that they have a WeChat-based mini program for checking health codes in Beijing. This app has started to show users COVID-19 vaccination stages in preparation for a de facto immunity passport. So there is really a lot we can learn from China. In the meanwhile, China is booming again and life is almost back to normal, something we in the West, we all dream of today. At present, our biggest challenge for companies doing business with China is the fact that we cannot go to China due to the high number of COVID-19 infections in the EU. And according to the IMF, Chinese growth will be at 8.2% this year, which is the highest in 10 years. Also, foreign investments in China have increased last year by 6.2%. And China overtook the US and regained the title of the world's top destination of FDI, and will also be one of the main drivers of the world's growth this year. More business opportunities will also arise as the EU-China Investment Agreement has been signed at the end of last year. The EU-China Comprehensive Agreement on Investment is the most ambitious agreement that China has ever concluded with a third country. It will offer broader market access and a better business environment for investors in Europe and in China. European companies active in manufacturing industries such as cars, traditional and new energy vehicles, production of transport and health equipment, and production of chemicals, amongst others, will see new opportunities. There will also be further opening up in the services sector, such as financial services, telecom, private health sectors, services, etc. So China is a market which cannot be ignored. But before giving the floor to our speaker, let me say a few words about the Flanders-China Chamber of Commerce. Our chamber was founded by the largest investors from Belgium in China, such as Ageas, Agfa, Bekaert, Barco, Picanol, KBC Bank, Umicore, and so on. Our aim is to assist Flemish companies doing business with China and help Chinese companies to find partners in Belgium. We provide a weekly China business newsletter to keep you up to date on China's economy and trade, organize business webinars on how to do business in China, and also give expert advice. Normally, we also receive many Chinese delegations, support Chinese missions to China, but we hope to do that again maybe later this year. I would like to end here now and give the floor to Professor Jibo. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen, for your wonderful introduction. So I'm very honored to be invited back to speak at the Expo. And today I would like to share with all the doing business with a change in China. So China indeed is changing and has always been changing in the past few decades. So doing business with China is you cannot take a set formula. You have to adapt to the current situation. So that's why this topic is very appropriate. So I would like to first to start by saying that the rise of China and its global implication is present. So as you can see that the world economy in the different period of the time in the history, we can see that the China share gained, versus the European and U.S. Is you can see China has decreased significantly since 1820. And during that period, mainly a few events. First, the Qing dynasty, which is the ruling government at the time, has decided that to close the border because they felt that China is big enough, very strong, and as you can see, it's about a 1/3 of the world economy. So it feels like China doesn't need the world, and the world needs China. Indeed, a lot of countries come to China, try to build a relationship with China. So that's why it is, for Qing dynasty, for the government, they feel that there is no such need to do that. The world is begging them. So British initiated first and second Opium War, and eventually China started to decline with the foreign invasions. And in 1900, a year, the United Armies of 8 nations invaded China. So, and then China has the civil war. So China started to decline. Even with the decline, so the Chinese economy started to really diminish. But now China is rising again. So as you can see from the GDP in 2019 is 14 trillion US dollar. Last year, when the world is contracting and China is still growing at 2.3%, so at 15.58 trillion US dollar. So that is really stunning. And if you look at the figure for the Europe, it's contracting very significantly, and the US also contracting as well. So China in the past decades, has achieved something which is very astonishing. 800 million people has been lifted out of poverty, between 1990 to 2017. And the urban population has gained, very significant portion. So before it was about only 20%, and now it's more than 60%, and it's growing as well. The GDP composition also had a very interesting change. China used to be a big manufacturing economy, but now China became more service-oriented, like advanced economy. So China aimed to boost the service share in GDP to about 60% by 2025. And according to the economist, China will overtake US in 2024. Now, this is not my estimation, but we yet need to see. In terms of total GDP, to overpass US to become the largest economy in the world again. So this is happening, and nothing can stop it from from that happening. But what is very interesting is that you can see a change the distribution by the household income. If you look at the global picture here, if you look at the middle income families and then the high, middle income family or super, high, middle income family, China is really moving. Now, between 2016 and 2026, and then you can see from here that the delta, in terms of change, it's in millions of households. So the China would produce for the world 272, lower middle income family and 232, million high upper middle income family. So this is astonishing. If you look at the rest of the world, it doesn't change much, but China is the leading country to really contribute not just to the Chinese economic growth, but also to the world economic growth. So, in other words, the whole world depending on China for its growth. in order to survive. Now, if you look at the mobile internet user, which is also an indication of the future growth, that the Chinese mobile internet user are now more than the population in Europe in 2019. So Chinese users are using the internet in a very astonishing way, and also China is growing its domestic market. It's not just rely on the export market, but a domestic market. Before, China sent the products and goods and services outside of China, but now domestic market became booming, and particularly after financial crisis. Now, if I take one measurement on Alibaba Double 11 Shopping Festival, this is the largest online shopping festival in the world. It's much larger than the Americans' Black Friday shortly after the Thanksgiving Day. Now, last year, they have achieved something which is absolutely astonishing. Achieved 74 billion US dollars in terms of sales. Now, a year ago, in 2019, this number is 38. So within a year, it actually doubled the number. So people may ask me why it doubles. Let's not forget about pandemic. Pandemic last year actually made people start to do more shopping online. So that explains why there's a huge surge here. But you can pretty much see that the Chinese consumer are quite willing to shopping online. And 74 billion US dollar. It's in one day you create a multi-billion-dollar company in the world. That is truly astonishing. This also shows how big the Chinese market is. Now, China, as Gwen was mentioning early on, is very successful in fighting the pandemic, and the COVID-19, at the very beginning, shocked the whole world, including China, at the very beginning. So we see on the right chart here, which is produced by BBC, here Wuhan had a significant surge in terms of numbers, but then quickly after April, it dies out. It basically dies out. And China, for many, many months, has no cases, no domestic cases, and only have imported cases. But those imported cases have been stopped right at entry, and those has been subject to the mandatory quarantine. So this is very interesting. So how China can become so successful in dealing with the pandemic, and I will explain to you in the next slide. This has a lot to do with the collective society that China has and the culture has. Because in the Chinese culture, people believe that we're living in a society, we're intertwined with each other. So we cannot just think for our own benefit, our self-interest. We have to consider for the collective benefit and collective good of the society. So people are willing to sacrifice for other people. And the government also obviously, are leveraging this fact as well. So Chinese government had been very effective in putting down the pandemic and building the hospitals, using the QR code, tracking where people has the COVID, and then taking the quarantine measures in a very serious way. And the whole country cooperated for that. As a result, the pandemic has been put off very quickly. So you can see that the result is quite astonishing. The Chinese GDP is growing at 2.3% last year over 2019. In the same period, the EU actually contracted 7.4%, this is estimation, and the US 2.4% negative. And UK is even greater, it's 10.3%, and France is 9.4%, and Germany is 5.6% contraction. So as you can see from those data, that the effectiveness of China being able to deal with the pandemic are now putting China ahead of the curve. So I believe in the future, China is leading the global economy in the post-COVID recovery, and China's economy is gathering steam and settling stage for a strong recovery. Now, some people doesn't believe China doesn't have COVID or the COVID is under control. but I have family in China and have a lot of friends in China, and there's a very easy access of social media, and people move freely in the country and go to see the cinemas and things like that, and having restaurant open and dining, enjoy the life, and there's nobody talk about COVID, very little, mentioning. And whenever there's a city have like one case in a city of about 5 million population, and the city mayor will be involved. It will become a biggest thing in the city, and there will be strong measurement for that, do a lot of testing for that. This kind of situation we just don't see in the Western country. When some country have more than 20,000 cases, and the people move around and have those, even restaurant open. So that is a different situation. So in summary, Chinese GDP will continue to grow, but slow down. A focus on high quality growth, on the technology, profitability, green economy, and rebalancing efforts should be accelerated. The increase in health, education, social transfer, and support consumption and reduce income inequality and population. And service will continue to overpass. Now, I always say that China national strategy has been big. The Chinese government perfectly understand, and not just Chinese government, but throughout the history of the Chinese culture, that staying together and being big is so important. That's why Brexit kind of the situation will never happen in China, because when you stay together collectively, you can be better. So that is the national strategy to some extent. So I would like to explain to you the magnitude of China's middle class growth. Now, this is actually quite significant. The shares of urban household are actually shifting. You can see that the upper middle class and the mass middle class are now shifting. Between 2012 and 2022, you will see the urban household percentage are shifting. So there are more urban household, and also you can see the private consumption side, the upper middle class are now dominating in the population. So this is very important, because for any mature economy, you need the upper middle class to be dominating in order to generate consumption, which consumption will boost the economic growth and employment as well. Also, millennials, the generation between 18 years old and 35 years old, and the Chinese millennials love entertainment more than household items. They're willing to pay for that, have more access to media. They use computer and they watch TV, instead of watching TV. So if you do a TV advertisement, it's dead. But then if you use social media, and they're there. And also they for instance, entertainment, they spend a lot of money on entertainment. So that's why some of the Chinese movie stars are making more money than the Hollywood movie star, because simply the Chinese consumer are willing to pay for that. And middle class, the coastal urban regions, they're usually reside in that. They have a high desire of buying with high purchasing power. They love high technology products, especially mobile phones, PCs. They're willing to pay higher price for higher quality. They emphasize on the brand name and products. Quality versus price. Before, perhaps Europeans more thinking China is low price, because you can buy a lot of low price product, made in China, in Carrefour, in many other, grocery stores and department, stores. But actually Chinese actually now value quality versus price. And some of the products that you can buy in Europe, actually is cheaper than those you can buy in China, because in China they have better quality sometimes. So the younger and population, they have a different attitude towards the consumption. They prefer expensive, luxurious products. That's why before pandemic, you see a lot of Chinese tourists flooded on the street of Paris, in Germany, in Brussels, and to buy luxurious product, for that. So that's kind of very interesting thing, that you can see the China export, low cost, low price product and to Europe, and then they come to Europe to buy luxurious product, paying a lot of money for that. And they're more brand loyal and prefer foreign brands, and they use the internet more for researching and making purchase. So they don't rely on your advertisement. They do research. They need to understand the product. So they feel they have the democracy to understand. And also, they rely on referrals, their friends, and to talk about a certain product. They're more likely to buy because their friends also, like the product and recommend them the product for that. So social media has been heavily used. 99% of the post 2000 generation reached, through the social media. 73% for the post 80s and 90s generations, and they use the social apps in every 15 minutes. That's astonishing, considering they have to sleep. And new consumer group, the post 2000 generation. This is them. Their life with quality. They emphasize quality, and their consumption is variety, and they emphasize on the brand. So, for instance, they like to hold an iPhone, go to Disney, and buy Yves Saint Laurent, the French luxury brand, and dining in Haidi Lao. This is actually an alumni company of CKGSB, and they do shopping in the Amazon Kindle, and they do shopping in the Muji, and they drink Coca-Cola and Xita. So this is a new generation of the people. They like trendy stuff. They like foreign brands, as you can see. And they envision themselves a lifestyle that is different from their parents. So the post-80s care more about price, while post-90s prefer shopping experience. You can see from here that the post-90s generation, they more emphasize on experience sharing. If they have a good experience, they must say it. They're going to tell the whole world, I bought a wonderful shirt. I love it. And you should also buy it too. Nobody tell them to do that, but they love to show themselves. They want to show their personality and individuality as well. And encouragement, they like to encourage, they like to likes. Okay, that's why in the internet, there's only like, there's no dislike in China. You can only like something, you cannot dislike something. Encouragement. Entertainment, they enjoy entertainment. They like common interaction. So that's why in the social media, it's very important in the Chinese social media, you do a lot of interaction, with comments. And product introduction, they want to really understand the product. But advertisement, brand culture, they do not care too much for that. So social e-commerce is on the rise. So the social e-commerce is a perfect combination in China between social media and the e-commerce. And because in China, the consumers really rely on social media as a way to help them to make the shopping decision. So that's why social media are wonderfully combined with the e-commerce. This is so different from the Western country. In the Western country, there's a lot of regulation related to the data protections, and the social media is social media, and the e-commerce is e-commerce. For instance, you see Amazon is Amazon, but you have other social media like Facebook there. They're relatively separated, but in China, these two are now wonderfully combined. So the purchase and sales of goods facilitated by social interaction and self-produced content provided by user and groups through the social media and online media. So in that way, you turn individuals to be a salesperson, for that. So traditional e-commerce start with user generating the content, and you enter something, you browse, you purchase, and then you share, right? But social media e-commerce start with user entering something, but then you start to share, and then you generate more user, and then eventually lead to the purchase. So let me show you a video, and then to hopefully give you a good sense of this company. Pinduoduo is an alumni company of CKGSB, Qinggong Graduate School of Business. Astonishing success. Within 3 years from the start, the company are publicly listed company and going very strong. Let's see how they succeeded from this video.
In recent years, Pinduoduo has become one of China's most popular e-commerce apps. Its users are drawn by deals on a wide range of goods, which include things like clothing, fresh produce, electronics, as well as common household necessities like tissue paper. When buying things from Pinduoduo, shoppers are presented with two price options, a standard price and a discounted price. In order for users to unlock heavily discounted prices, they have to form teams of at least 2 buyers. This created an incentive for shoppers to share deals with others, which which quickly helped Pinduoduo add more users.
主要的来源都是朋友互相之间推荐，因为在今年7月以前，我们几乎没有打过任何广告。
Since its inception, Pinduoduo has gone on to serve over 400 million active buyers, and in July of 2018, after only 3 years, it was listed on NASDAQ with a valuation in the billions. The company has also seen a surge in monthly active users, going from 15 million in the first quarter of 2017 to nearly 290 million just 2 years later. So how did it achieve this explosive growth in such a short amount of time? When Pinduoduo was just starting out, there was a shift in the Chinese e-commerce landscape.
说原来的团购其实更多的是一种餐饮服务业的优惠券买卖，就是你更多的是在买优惠券、打折优惠券，而并不是说真正的在进行某种团购。
Service-based group buying simply wasn't sustainable, and as changes took place on Alibaba's Taobao, JD.com, and other marketplaces, many online vendors were left without a portal to sell their goods. Pinduoduo also quickly proved to be a platform that could move vast amounts of goods in a short span of time. In just the first 2 weeks of June, it sold over $900 million worth of fruits and agricultural products.
拼多多的模式基于供应链的改善，也贡献了可观的社会价值。拼单的模式能够快速的聚集需求，实现大规模多对多的匹配。
Meanwhile, people living in smaller cities and rural areas were becoming more familiar with online commerce. Pinduoduo also offered popular incentives like free merchandise, cash rewards for daily users, and free delivery to keep people hooked. Those living in Tier 1 cities and urban centers were also getting in on the savings and have become the platform's biggest consumers of fresh produce. Pinduoduo is turning toward a sophisticated keyword marketing mechanism that's not unlike Google's classic search business. This isn't too surprising, as Pinduoduo's founder Colin Huang was a Google engineer and one of the founding members of Google's China office before leaving to start several successful companies. His credentials may be why investors buy into Pinduoduo's vision, despite the company having yet to turn a profit. As the platform's user count and revenue have increased, operating losses have also skyrocketed. At the moment, Pinduoduo is burning through money to become profitable. But financial analysts believe they can turn things around. Merrill Lynch projects that the company will become profitable by the second half of 2020, which is just a year down the line. To reach that point, Pinduoduo will have to ramp up its monetization channels and look for ways to cut costs.
Okay, so due to the time, so I'm going to skip the remaining part of it. So there are 4 functions of a social media e-commerce: increase the customer flow and sales of traditional e-commerce, promote the integration of online and offline, enhance brand and sales of traditional retailer, drive the user flow platform to realize the business value, for that. So there are top 12 industries that I believe for the foreign companies to participate. The new energy area, which is very interesting. There are many use in China. So China is doing very strongly on those. And AI, cloud services, and health, and fintech, blockchain, online education, tourism, and social media. And those areas is enormously important for the Chinese participation. Clean tech, new retail, and logistics, system. So I would just mention a few here. For instance, Industry 4.0, the Chinese is a very big, manufacturing, country. So there's a lot of participation that foreign companies in Europe can participate in this area. Blockchain, the China has a very strong fintech blockchain initiative. So these areas also need a lot of help. And also electric car, this new car and UICC, ECC. The UICEE is UISEE. Sorry, it's our alumni sort of company. They produce the electric car in China. The China now have more electric car than any other country, and then Europe combined. For that. IoT, Internet of Things, is widely used in the industry. So those areas, China need a lot of help, for that. So I encourage you to consider those and work with China in those areas. The China still need a lot of technology, help, for that. So I wanted to say that take up your courage, reward success, celebrate failure, and punish inaction. So go to China, don't worry too much about it. And once you're there, you're going to figure out how to swim in the pool. So I want to take this opportunity to explain to you one of our program called China Star Program. So it is online program that we offer this year in April 7th to May 14th. It's an online program for 6 weeks. And each week there will be 2 sessions, each session 1.5 hours. Now we have 6 very interesting subjects, including investment and pitch workshop, how to pitch to Chinese investor, cross-cultural management, how to turn differences into advantages, and winning strategy in China, and how to get investment and capital in China, social media marketing in China, capital globalization and China's mode of economic development, and a historical, global perspective. And we have 2 guest speakers and inside of Chinese accelerator, incubator, and co-working space, and from the formal vice president of Apple and Intel. And innovation and entrepreneurship in China by one of the very good friend of mine who is running the North Summit Capital. And he used to be the former vice president, the chief machine intelligence scientist of Alibaba Cloud. And we also have 4 investment pitch events. If you're looking for funding, this program is perfect for you. So we have 3 large investment companies who we will pitch in, exclusively to them. Fosun Group and Cybernet Investment Group. Now, Fosun Group is the largest investment company. Cybernet, it has about $5 billion investment fund and $5 billion M&A fund. And also North Summit Capital have 350 million investment fund. And then we invited the Chinese VC Association and PE Association together with a lot of leading investors, about more than 100 leading investors will show up, for a group of the pitch event, for that. And also the North Summit has kindly set up an award called China Star Award with China Star. So they have 5 categories: the most innovative award, best pitch award, most promising award, best social impact award, and also most disruptive technology award. So each award carries $2,000 price tag, for that. We also created a advisory board, and those advisors will be able to provide free one-on-one consultation with leading industry experts from Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent, TikTok, Fosun, and many other influential business executives and investors for that. So China Star, you can find out more detail from our website, which is china-star.org, or reach to my program manager, Jacqueline Lee, at at ckjsp.edu.cn. You can take a photo of this and reach us, from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bo. I would like to ask you a question. What are your top 10, or let's say, we don't need to have 10. What are your top tips for doing successful business for companies that wish to start in China?
My first tip is that don't have fear. You don't need to have fear, and go there and start something. And I think it's very important. A lot of people just talk about it. Multinational company all went to China. When they went to China, they didn't hesitate. We have Coca-Cola in China. We have Zara in China. We have, H&M in China. A lot of companies went to China, set up their own operations. There are independent companies set up in China, and they own those companies. And so they invest, and they did it. Obviously, you can argue they have a lot of money to invest for that. But nevertheless, they didn't fear anything. And they went. A lot of time, the business model you have from your country will simply work in China. For a lot of multinational companies, they went to China without changing much. They just simply did it. But also, I would say that local adaptation is inevitable. So it's easy. You will figure out, and you're going to adapt yourself for that. So that's not an issue at all. You're going to figure out after you understand the consumer for that. And I think this is the very important part of this. And secondly is that I think it's very important to when you go to China to really acquire the general China knowledge, to really understand how to do business in China. A lot of people go there without those knowledge, which is a little bit dangerous. So you need to learn a little bit, avoid the mistakes, avoid some hurdles, and that is very important. And third is the cultural aspect, to understand how to do business with China. So a lot of time the Western, companies doesn't understand this very point. So they're overly short-term oriented. The Chinese are very long-term oriented. They want to first build a relationship with you before doing business with you. But Western, individuals and leaders tend to want to make things happen right away. If it doesn't happen, they lose patience. But that's not the way to do business in China. You have to nurture and build that relationship, and then you can leverage that relationship. Because building a relationship is not easy and takes time and effort and also sometimes investment. But once it's built, it also doesn't break easily, and you're gonna keep the benefit from that as well. So it's just a marriage, right? So there's a benefit, of a marriage, being you can trust the partner and you can trust your spouse, and then build upon that. So I highly encourage you to consider this aspect as well. This is completely different in terms of how business was done in your country, for that. And also, I think I would suggest a low-hanging fruit approach. So these days, doing business with China, you could have relatively low cost to do business with China. For instance, you can leverage e-commerce and social e-commerce. Without going to China, you can start to sell the product or start to market the product. And if you start to see there's a strong, demand for your product, then you can start to do a little bit more. Okay. For instance, you can use companies like JD International, JD Global, and Ali International, and to use them, because you can put your product in their system and they're going to sell for you because they have a lot of customers who can buy from you. So if that works, then you can try to do it yourself in China, building your, and not building, actually, renting the warehouse and assembling a sales, force, and to do that. I couldn't stress enough that to go to China, a lot of time the fear is just your own illusion. So once you're actually, go to China, all those goes away. In our China Star program, we had a company who joined the China Star afterwards. They went to China, we helped them, and they went to China, set up a company in Hangzhou, and they start to ship the container one after the other, and the business started to grow. Those who hesitate in thinking too much and never get there, but those who just do it and make things happen, maybe you make some mistake and you learn from that. The human being is very good in terms of correcting their own mistakes and then grow out of it. So that is very important. Just simply thinking and talking about it and never take action is the most dangerous thing when you're talking about going to China.
Thank you very much, Boji. It's for your very interesting presentation and for your top tips for doing successful business in China. As time is almost up, I would say, let me conclude by saying that China is a market which cannot be ignored, and there are plenty of business opportunities we need to grasp. We hope to welcome you at our next webinars. Our website is www.flanderschina.be, and we are at your disposal for any further information, and welcome you also for a talk on how we can further assist you with your business with China. Thank you.